and frankly beyond imagination. Let's be clear. The people of the region and the people of the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza. On both sides of the blue line, many lives have already been lost. Tens of thousands of people have been displaced, and homes and livelihoods have been destroyed. Bushfires sparked by explosions are further devastating communities and the environment. Unexploded ordnance and remnants of war litter the landscape. And these pose additional threats to people in both Israel and Lebanon, and to United Nations and humanitarian personnel. The parties must urgently recommit to the full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 and immediately return to a cessation of hostilities. Civilians must be protected. Children, journalists and medical workers should never be targeted, and displaced communities must be able to return to their homes. The world must say loudly and clearly, immediate de-escalation is not only possible, it is essential. There is no military solution. Further military escalation will only guarantee more suffering, more devastation to communities in Lebanon and Israel, and more potentially catastrophic consequences for the region. It's time for reason and rationality. It's time for practical and pragmatic engagement by the parties to the diplomatic and political avenues available to them. For our part, the United Nations is actively engaging to promote peace, security and stability in line with Security Council Resolution 1701. UN peacekeepers, UNIFIL, are on the ground, working to de-escalate tensions and help prevent miscalculation in an extremely challenging environment. I deeply appreciate their service. The cessation of hostilities and progress towards a permanent ceasefire is the only durable solution. And the United Nations fully supports diplomatic efforts to end the violence, restore stability, and avoid even greater human suffering in a region that has seen far too much. As we do so, we continue to press for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate and unconditional release of hostages, and the real pathway to a two-state solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary.
We have time for a couple of questions. Anade?
Thank you, Secretary General. Nani Fatima, Al Jazeera English. Today, as you call for de-escalation in the region, Israel has continued strikes in Gaza City, in the north, as well as on a display.
That is the UN Secretary General there, Antonio Guterres, as of course he was speaking to reporters at the Security Council stakeout on the situation at the blue line between Israel and Lebanon, where it does appear to be a new war front there. And of course, this comes amidst some of the reports that we've seen suggesting that Israel is ready for an all-out war targeting Hezbollah officials. And this, of course, has, caused some serious concerns on the ground there as well. And the UN saying that it's calling for an immediate de-escalation of this particular situation and saying that it is time for reason and rationality, and that the UN is now actively, continuously engaging to ensure that there is peace here, and also saying that the UN peacekeepers are on the ground to prevent a further loss of life in a very difficult situation, as the UN Secretary General there is describing it, and saying that they're calling for the protection of civilians, and they do continue to back the calls for a ceasefire and the release of hostages, and also, the opening of some of the humanitarian paths, and ensuring that all of this leads towards the two-state solution. So a lot of focus there as the reporters are watching what also the UN is now going to also be doing actively on the ground, and even some of the officials, because the tensions there, between Israel and Lebanon have also been bubbling under for quite some time now. So a lot of focus on that particular story. We will bring you an update on this one. Sherwin is also watching that for us.